Hello, and welcome to Movie Minute Recaps. Today I will be discussing The Revenant, an American horror comedy picture. Spoilers ahead, so be careful. The film opens with a group of U.S. soldiers traveling through a rural area of Iraq in an armored vehicle. One of the soldiers, Bart Gregory, is at the wheel and is talking to his friends when he accidentally runs over a small child. Panicked, the other soldiers tell him to keep driving, but Bart decides to check on the child. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a trap as several rebel warriors suddenly appear and shoot Bart, killing him on the spot. The scene then switches to Bart's funeral in the U.S., attended by his friends and family. We meet his upset girlfriend Janet, along with his close friends Joey and Matilda after the funeral. The three of them get together for drinks, and Janet keeps crying. She says that Bart joined the military to avoid her, but Joey contradicts her, saying that Bart was actually planning to propose to her. When Janet hears this, she starts to cry even more and leaves the building. Joey follows her outside and tries to comfort her, but eventually they end up making love in the cemetery that night. We see Bart's amazing resurrection. As he approaches the mortuary, he is horrified to see his deteriorating face in the mirror. He tries to open his mouth, but it is still sawed, and the gunshot wound on his forehead remains. Distracted by the strange circumstances, Bart idly takes a pair of scissors and trims the threads surrounding his mouth. Shocked, he goes to see Joey, the best friend of both his wife and himself, and when Bart knocks on the door and says it's him, Joey believes someone is pulling a practical joke on him. He opens the door and bashes a baseball bat into Bart's head, but a few moments later, he is shocked to learn that his best friend is still alive. The two then go inside to talk about this peculiar circumstance. After taking a sip of whiskey, Bart starts eating a slice of cold pizza, but it makes him throw up a lot, destroying the carpet in the same way that Joey destroyed his girlfriend in the scene that follows. Bart covers his unusual eyes with sunglasses, and the two go to the hospital. When they get to the examination room, a nurse is scared of Bart's appearance, so instead of being calm, he takes off his shirt and reveals a large autopsy scar across his chest. The nurse becomes extremely alarmed by what she sees and decides to call the police, which forces the two of them to escape. They later go back to Joey's house, where Bart passes out and vomits black liquid once more. When morning comes, Joey calls Matilda, a doctor, and tells her everything that has happened, asking her not to tell Janet. It turns out that Bart is still unconscious and that she finds him dead when Matilda checks his pulse. Bart is dormant throughout the day and only comes to life at night. When Bart awakens in the evening, Joey tells him about what Matilda said earlier. He then prepares his favorite meal only for Bart to vomit again, which makes Joey realize that his friend is in urgent need of blood. She surmises that he is transformed into a zombie who may require blood to survive, fearing that he may hurt others. She suggests that Joey cut off his head and drive a stake through his heart, but he vehemently refuses, saying that he would never harm his best friend, so they set off to find it. The two soon arrive at a clinic, where Bart decides to go alone. There, he steals several blood pouches covertly, but a nurse catches him in the deed as they tussle. His sunglasses come off, exposing his empty pupils. The nurse becomes alarmed by this and quickly retreats, allowing Bart to later make his getaway. His skin condition improves slightly after he gets into the car with Joey and drinks human blood from the bags he stole. The two friends celebrate the occasion by drinking all night, but as dawn draws near, Bart passes out once more, and Joey has to take him home when he wakes up. Joey says he researched his unusual condition and came to the conclusion that he is neither a vampire nor a zombie. As a result, he decided to refer to him as a revenant, which is a term for someone who rises from the dead. Joey believes he contracted the virus while serving in Iraq, and since there is no treatment for his illness, he must constantly drink human blood. As a result, the two go out in search of blood again. They ask a number of homeless people to donate blood in exchange for money, but all of them say no. We won't fight. So Bart gets so weak that he throws up in a trash can. Shortly after, a man notices his condition and offers to help, but he turns out to be a thug who demands money. A brawl breaks out amongst the buddies when they refuse to cooperate, and the thug shoots Bart in the chest at point-blank range, miraculously causing no injury. Joey then takes advantage of the distraction and ends the thug's life with a metal rod. After that, The two friends load his body into their car, and Bart even eats his blood. Eventually, they dispose of him by throwing him into a nearby river. The following morning, Janet and Matilda arrive at the house. It turns out that Matilda told Janet the truth after seeing her husband's lifeless body. Janet sobs and falls on the floor next to him. When he finally wakes up at dusk, the couple remembers their past together and chooses to stick together despite the difficult circumstances, such as the fact that she can practically see his bones or that she has recently seen his friends. Later that evening, Bart and Joey go into a Korean restaurant to get drinks, but the owner appears scared. They soon discover that a robber behind the counter is holding him at gunpoint and that the robber is about to shoot him. But Bart, an ex-army man, will not allow that to happen. He swiftly pulls his own gun and points it at the thug. The two men exchange gunfire, but only the thug is killed because Bart is already a zombie and cannot perish after. Bart and Joey decide to go around the town and eradicate criminals after feeling a renewed sense of purpose about protecting the defenseless and robbing stores themselves if they feel they've earned it. After gathering themselves, he goes on to drink the robber's blood. The two friends then take some items from the store before eventually making their way out. One by one, they murder a man who was trying to rob someone at an ATM. Then, after killing the victims, they kill two men who were abusing a poor woman in an alley. The next day, the media interviews the Korean store owner, who thanks the two for saving his life because of their brave actions. They are dubbed the Vigilante Sunslingers by the reporters. This makes Joey very happy, but he tells Bart that he too wants to become a revenant like him. Bart feeds on their blood, which makes him stronger. But Bart finds the idea unsatisfactory, viewing it more as a curse than a blessing. The following evening, the two intervene to foil another liquor store heist. However, this time, things do not go as expected, and Joey is shot. When Joey sadly dies in the car from blood loss, Bart gets his pal to the hospital right away, but it's too late and he has no other options. After carrying Joey home and submerging him in the bathtub, Bart makes the decision to transform him into a revenant and consume his blood. A few hours afterwards, Joey awakens as a revenant, ecstatic about his newfound strength. He knows that if Bart discovers what he did to his wife, he cannot kill him. The two friends now seem unstoppable, carrying out a string of killings and disposing of their victims by using the same bridge each time. As they become more well-known, more media outlets start to cover their acts. One night, a security camera picks up Joey's car, which Matilda recognizes right once. In the following scene, the two of them arrive at a warehouse where a number of drug dealers are transacting business. Without waiting, they storm in and start firing at the criminals, murdering everyone. When Bart finds out one of the men is a police officer and opens his wallet, he feels bad and thinks that what they did was wrong. However, Joey does not express regret and tells him to move on a short while later. Matilda, who seems to have followed them everywhere, confronts them and threatens to call the police if they don't halt their killing spree. Additionally, Matilda threatens to decapitate them as the sun rises. She then leaves, but enraged before Matilda dies, Joey gets to transmit Janet a video of their chat after the incident. This shocks Bart to his core and causes him to reprimand his friend, but Joey maintains that she didn't give them an option. Since they have been living together, Bart visits his girlfriend's apartment, where he finds her waiting for him and discovering that she has received mate's message while crying. Janet cuts her own arm to give him blood and begs him to stop killing people, saying she will do everything for him. After some hesitation, Bart gives in to his cravings and begins to drink her blood, but quickly loses control and kills her just after Joey comes in a limousine with 2 coffins to take him up. He offers that they relocate to Las Vegas so they may carry out their murderous plans there, but Bart sadly tells him about how he killed his lover. He then takes him inside and displays her lifeless body. Bart refuses to have her head severed in order to prevent her from becoming like them, which sparks a dispute between them. Eventually, as they aim their weapons at one another, Joey teases Bart by disclosing that he had an affair with Janet following his burial. As a result, a gunfight breaks out, but neither of them is ultimately killed. After he departs, Joey says their friendship is gone and intends to move to Las Vegas alone. Eventually, Bart beheads his girlfriend and drags her body to the river to be dumped, but this time he gets caught by the police and is arrested. Meanwhile, Joey's night takes a dark turn when a mobster gang ambushes him and drags him to a remote hideout. To Joey's surprise, the gang leader is none other than the man they had dumped off the bridge, who was their first victim. After beating up Joey for a while, the man actually turned into a revenant after consuming his blood. He exacts his revenge by beheading Bart with a chainsaw the next morning, turning Bart into a corpse in his prison cell. The police transport Bart to the morgue in the evening, where he awakens in the autopsy room, frightening the forensic examiner. Bart then flees the morgue and makes his way back to Joey's apartment, where he finds a box on the doorstep containing his friend's severed head. Surprisingly, Joey is still alive and moving, albeit confused. Bart brings him inside right away and inquires as to what transpired. After struggling to speak, Joey reveals that their first victim did this to him. He begs Bart to flee before they come for him as well. After hearing all of this, Bart takes Joey to a construction site and, with tears in his eyes, tells him that he loves him and doesn't care if they had slept with Janet. Bart then ends Joey's suffering by crushing his head with a bulldozer now that his best friend has died. When Bart runs out of life, he tries to kill himself by hanging himself with Christmas lights and shooting himself in the face, but he ultimately determined to survive. He also jumps in front of a train, but he only succeeds in dismembering one of his arms. Later, frustrated with his circumstances, Bart sits on the subway, reading a letter that Janet left in his pocket and sobbing. A woman approaches him and asks if everything is all right, but Bart attacks her without warning. When the train stops, the passengers board and are horrified to see Bart drinking the woman's blood. Bart then tries to escape the station. However, the police eventually round him. Then there is a vicious shootout that results in numerous innocent persons losing their life. In the following scene, Bart awakens in a glass container to find scientists and military personnel in front of him. Bart takes advantage of the chaos and escapes to the top of a hill in the morning, when our protagonist is once again transformed into a corpse. We then see several people in hazmat suits cautiously approaching to capture him. In the last scene, Bart and the other revenant are dropped in steel containers via parachutes above Kozan, Iran. As soon as they land, the containers automatically open and the revenants scatter across the nation to wreak havoc. He notices that they have imprisoned several other revenant and sealed them like him. Although the scientists cannot explain what exactly happened to these people, they identify Bart as the one who started everything. The general then asks if Bart served in the army, to which Bart responds in the affirmative. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this, enable notifications, and leave a like to support the channel.